Black Men Cry Too is an invitation for men of color to feel safe to share their truth and unpack their hurt. This space was created for Black men to feel empowered and know it's okay that they can cry too. Support for Black Men Cry Too comes from NYC's Heritage of Pride. Thank you so much, NYC Pride, for selecting us for your give back so we can encourage Black men to know that it's okay that they can cry too. Another dope sponsor we have for this season of Black Men Cry Too is Black-owned Scotch Porter. Fellas, if you want the best products for grooming and wellness, head over to BlackMenCryToo.com and follow the affiliate link for special inventory and special discounts. Let's not forget our special partner for this season, Happy Cork, where you can not only get the best wine and spirits, but you can get the best Black-owned wine and spirits with this Black-owned wine and spirits store in the heart of Brooklyn. Head over to happy-cork.com and let them know Black Men Cry Too sent you. On this episode of Black Men Cry Too, I get to sit down with Chris.
Hello.
Chris, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Let's kick this off with a shot.
And
then in true BSing with Chris fashion, we're going to drink after this. Okay. So I always say, let's do the shot.
Damn. And you don't never finish
and I never finish it because I just want to see the strength.
Oh my God.
Y'all have. As men of color in this world, okay?
Absolutely not.
Well, as you're letting that digest.
Barely.
To kick it off, I want to talk about like our generation and the keywords in our generation.
Keywords.
We've come up with a lot of keywords like breaking generational curses and boundaries.
Yes.
It's like we learn new words in the dictionary, mine too, and just ran with them.
Right.
But when you think about it, it kind of shows the fake contradiction of who we used to be.
Yes.
So a lot of times we're breaking a lot of our own toxic traits. What moment did you realize, you know what? This person that I am doesn't fit this person that I see myself becoming?
Damn, that's a good question. So the thing about it is, right. I mean, you know, we just started, but hi, my name is Chris.
How you doing?
Right. No, I think for me, it finally hit me back November 2020. And by then I had already I started therapy in January 2020. And then obviously the pandemic.
Before the panty.
Right. Right before. And I initially had went into it thinking I was going for anger issues. Come to find out, I do not have anger issues. My therapist was like, no, you just react appropriately to certain situations. And anger in some situations is appropriate. So I think, and then I took a little bit of a break from therapy. I don't know why. And then back in
How long was the break?
I want to say 2 months. And at that point, I kind of felt my life kind of it wasn't going in the right direction. And, you know, to no fault of my therapist, because she's fantastic. She's fantastic. But in November, it just kind of clicked. And I hit her back up. I was like, ma'am, I need you.
Excuse me. Hi.
Right. Come take my money again. Damn it. No, in November, it finally clicked. And I was just like, you cannot continue living your life this way. I was depressed. I was annoyed. I wasn't happy with my job. And then again, like I said, started going to therapy again in November, and literally my life started changing again. In December, a month later, I transitioned into a new role at my job, making more money.
Okay.
And then I started just personally, for me, seeing a change in myself. And that had to do with, you know, personally, professionally, everything started changing. And I cannot tell you, like, up until now, people look at me and they're like, yo, you look so different. Have you lost weight? I'm like, I ain't lost weight. Stop trying to fucking like Don't
But you
disrespect.
did.
I mean,
You, in a sense, literally,
yes.
but then you lost dead weight that you were carrying.
There's a lot of weight lifted from my shoulders since November. And yeah, like everybody's like, even, I went out recently and they were like, damn, you look good. And I'm like, well, it's that glow, when you start leaving like the dead weight behind, literally. It kind of changes your aura. Yeah. And people really notice it. And it's a beautiful thing.
I agree. I also had the similar situation when I started going to therapy. People started picking up on it because the way I was speaking.
Yes.
They were like, wait a minute.
Yes.
And it was speaking and reacting. And I liked how you said you don't have anger issues. It's you're reacting.
Yeah.
The way that I've recently been telling people is, please stop being upset with me for reacting.
Yes.
Off of something that you initiated.
Right.
How do you handle that when people are sort of, another key buzzword, being a narcissist in a sense where they're upset with you for reacting off of something they triggered?
Yeah. I realize, like, for myself, I am easily gaslit. And I don't know why, but you can literally, prior, not currently, but prior, you could literally tell me something was my fault, even though it wasn't my fault. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm so sorry, whatever, blah, and never even step back to think, well, why did I react in that manner? No, it was automatically, it's my fault. It is what it is, And now I take a step back and I think about it. I'm like, oh, hold up. We're going to talk about it. You want to talk about this? Because we could talk about it. You
want to bring the receipts.
Right, exactly. And I think it's again, that's a boundary that I started setting for myself. Because I'm not going to, I'm very intelligent, but I'm not going to, sometimes emotionally I can be dumb. And I think that's for everyone, But
I don't think it's dumb. I think we can be moved by people that we care about.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. Yeah. And then give them a little bit more leeway. Like, you can get away with this a little bit more than, say somebody off the street. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I didn't even think about it that way. That's true. But yeah, for me, yeah, ain't no more gaslighting up in here.
How do you stay and stand firm in your boundaries? Especially when you feel like, so it's a two-part question. How do you stand strong in your boundaries? Let's say when those boundaries have to go against your family, and your family being like your parents and feeling comfortable basically defying your parents. And then the follow-up is, you know what? I'll let you answer that first.
Okay, we'll go.
Just know another one is coming.
Well, for me, I feel like, and again, therapy, when we look at our parents, we look at them like they're superheroes. And then when you start going to therapy, you start realizing they're not superheroes. They're actually just beings. Right. They're regular ass people like us. And, they did the best they could with what they had. And what they knew. And back then, obviously, I'm Dominican, so we're supposed to be macho. Even being gay and being Dominican, it conflicts, and then obviously being a black man, it's just everything contradicts. So growing up, I was lucky enough to have parents who seemingly accepted me for for being gay, seemingly, because I found out a couple years later, so we'll get to that. But now I'm off track, child. Anyway, so yes. So therapy made me realize and really made me look at my parents and look at them and just be like, you know what? I love you for who you are. But there are moments where if you step out of line, either I have to step away or I have to check you. And with my mom, I've been checking her. My dad doesn't really step out of line because he likes to have a good time. He's fun. But my mom has a bit of a smart mouth, kind of like me. That's where I get it from. The apple does not fall that far from the fucking tree. It really doesn't. But for me, I have to check her. And it is what it is, and I feel like once I started doing that, it was so weird for her. And I'm like, ma'am, this is the way it is now. And you just gonna have to deal with it. I still love you though. The love is still there.
You still and the respect.
And the respect. I will always, and there are moments where I have a conversation, me and my mom are our relationship is so friendly. Like, I'll be like, bitch, whatever. Like, that's just how I speak.
You're real friendly.
Yeah, like, that's how I speak to my mom and whatever the case. And she's fine with it. But we do still have those, like, I definitely have to set boundaries with her because I'm like, girl, you can't be saying that loose stuff around me. Like, we gonna have issues here.
How did you get your mom comfortable with your boundaries?
I don't think she is. And I know this because whenever she starts whenever she calls me or talks to me, it's always a little weird for her because sometimes she doesn't know what. Yeah. And I'm like, you can say whatever you want. Just know that if you say something wrong, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to put it on pause. Yeah. Like there was one time, like I would call my mom almost, because she lives in Florida. So I would call my mom almost every day. And then the phone, as I got busier, the phone calls stopped. I didn't call as often. So one time I remembered I hadn't spoken to her in like 2 weeks, which is so weird, And she called me and she's like, did I do something wrong? And I was like, girl, let me tell you, you ain't do nothing wrong. But, but that's her. I feel like that was her understanding and realizing like, okay, he has boundaries. Did I overstep a boundary?
She was reflecting.
Exactly. Did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? And I'm like, girl, my life is a mess right now. I am so busy with work, the new role that I got. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And, but yeah. So she, I feel like she sees the boundaries and I'm like, it's fine. You can toe the line, but
you get that pass because you're mom, but I'm still going to correct you along the way.
Exactly.
And I like how it seems like your mom is trying, even if she isn't comfortable.
Yeah.
She knows this is what's needed in her relationship with you, and she loves you so much that she's going to try to adjust to them.
Absolutely.
How do you sort of respond, feel, react to those that you do love that aren't your mom when you put boundaries and they can't accept them?
It's weird because it kind of changes relationships and
say that 3 times.
and it's like they don't know. First of all, these boundaries are new to me. So if they're new to me, they're gonna be new to you. I'm still adjusting to them. So therefore you're still gonna be adjusting to them too until I feel like they're set in stone or in place. But the thing about boundaries is that they're forever changing. And I feel like it really changes how people view you. And like they'll look at you and be like, wow, like you're not the same person. And I'm just like, you're right. I'm not. And I will continue not being the same fucking person.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people, they look at you and they're like, wow, you've changed so much. So you can take it negatively or you can take it positively. And for me, I know I'm going to take it positively because the person you thought I was, or not even that you thought I was, the person you knew is no longer here.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting when people have that notion because in a sense it's, you're upset with me because I'm growing.
Right.
Like, what are we supposed to do in life? Stay stagnant and miss out on opportunities and miss out on being the better you?
Yes.
So when you run into situations like that, do you ever feel, I mean, of course you do, because anytime you step away from someone or realize you need to readjust someone, it's like, well, this is still someone I love. But do you still feel comfortable enough to move forward and be like, if this person isn't accepting of change or doesn't want to grow, like this is just not someone I can continue to keep in my personal space because they may have the potential to bring me downwards to where I just grew from.
Right.
Like, how do you sort of maneuver or look at people in that light? Like, I love you, but I need to
keep you at an arm's distance. Yeah. And so for me, before I would definitely be like, no, I have to be friends with whomever or stay with whomever. Now I'm like, I'm good. Like that energy, I could be putting my energy into something else than dealing with whatever it is that you think that you're trying to put on me. And no. I'm walking away. I'm walking away.
It kind of brings me to like obligations and another key buzzword where I was like, redefining this definition. It almost feels like we have an obligation to people, like you said, the loyalty or the time we spent with someone. And then it kind of plays into people feeling obligated in their relationships.
Yeah.
Like we've been through thick and thin and hell and back. And I remember one of my girlfriends asked me, well, if he came back and he was a reborn person, and I responded to her, so I have to sit and tell my child that I went through hell and back, burnt myself 3 times just so they can be here. This is how me and her father came about. Like, no, that... Because then it's going to teach my child that this is what you should do. You should like continue taking abuse from someone until they get it together.
Correct.
But then it's this weird part of, do you feel guilty for turning your back on someone who needs help to grow? Do you ever like have that guilt?
No. No. Maybe the old me would have, but no, I don't. I feel like if whenever you're with someone, you're never gonna be growing at the same time. And one's gonna be ahead, the other one's, gonna be catching up. But as long as both are willing to work on that, and I think it should be okay. But this is a new generation. We're not gonna sit back and just be like, oh, well, my parents were together 36 years and that's what I want. No.
And they haven't talked to each other for 12.
Right. They don't even sleep in the same bed. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But do you realize and understand what these people went through? Especially like I said, the older generation, cheating, extra babies, multiple families, and it's just like, so you want all those years together, but you don't know what they went through to have to do that. And, like you said, going through all that abuse isn't just physical. There's that emotional, mental, and it takes a toll on you eventually. And I think that's what, that's what happened to me in November. Like mentally, I was just like, ding, you need to get your stuff together, But in regards to relationships, no, I don't feel guilty whether it's a friendship, a partner. I don't know. If I gotta go, I gotta go. I
like my bags have been packed.
Right. Hello. Like I can't, because I can no longer. I can only work on myself. I can't work on you too. Like it's not gonna work. And and since it ain't gonna work, I gotta go.
And I like how you said, like, I have to work on myself. I can't work on you. And it kind of brings into, there's couples therapy.
Yes.
There's family therapy. I feel like friends have gone. I've heard stories of friends going to therapy together.
I don't see nothing wrong with that.
At all. Like, if you need a mediator, in a sense, to help sound out both sides because you care so much of the relationship, like, I think that's perfectly fine, however the mediator looks. But with that, like, how do you sort of navigate doing this together and separately? And then how do you see when it's time to be like, okay, as we're going through this together, let's say like couples therapy, for an example. Yeah. As we're going through this journey together, we're realizing this isn't the journey we should be on together. Right. And recognizing like, okay, we were literally here to figure this out for each other. Right. You were my lesson. You were my experience. How do you sort of like take that in? Separate applicably. Yeah.
I think so the thing about it is you can do all the couples therapy you want. That's fine, especially if you're in a relationship. But you also need to go to therapy on your own. And not just, we got to go together. No, I've been to couples therapy. I don't like couples therapy. And the reason why I don't like couples therapy is I always felt like I was being attacked. And maybe I was going to maybe we were going to the wrong therapist. Maybe I don't know. But I didn't like it because I feel like what therapy does, it kind of magnifies your issues and gives you the proper way to, work on it. Yeah. And therapy, especially couples therapy, it made me realize like, damn, am I the problem? You have those thoughts going on in your head. Whereas when you go to a single therapy, okay, you're told what the issues are and you're able to work on it. But when you're in a couples therapy, you got to work together. And if you ain't willing to work with me, and if I'm coming out of couples therapy each and every time pissed, I don't want to work with you. I want this to end. You know what I'm saying? But separating amicably, it's a part of being mature. It's a part of growth. It's a part of realizing that my love for you is stronger than what I dislike about you. And I need to look at those aspects and be like, you know what? I love you so much, but I know that we can no longer be together, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, and obviously there's going to be emotions involved and mixed feelings, and it's going to be hard, you know, but at the end of the day, if two people can sit down, literally sit down like how you and I are, and be like, you know what, listen, I love you. This shit ain't working. It's time for me to move on, you know? And when you can do that and you realize that you're able to do that, you really reached a different level in your life and a new high. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
I mean, I can see it, like your aura's giving it off. Like it's all in the room, baby.
Yeah.
But what I think is interesting too is I feel we see a lot of relationships, and we just said it when we were talking about like our parents' generation. You guys have been together for 36 years.
Yeah.
You stopped speaking for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it
y'all don't even like each other.
And in our generation, what you see more of is, are you afraid to tell me that you don't like me? We kind of have like both things. There's someone that stays long because of the time length, because they're afraid to hurt the other person, so to speak. And then you have the other extreme, which is, let me just ghost and disappear so I don't have to have the conversation. Like, what do you think is the fear of our generation actually having the conversation and being like, hey, so it could be me, but you just ain't it for me.
Right.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And we just can't do that.
I think our generation, as much as we like to talk, we're like hella to
chatty.
Talk.
I didn't realize that.
We don't like to talk. You know what I'm saying? So and then to put on top of that, talk about our emotions and how we're feeling. And then on top of that, having to tell you that I don't like you. Hell no, I'm walking away. I don't want to have
like,
this conversation. But at the end of the day, like, not everybody's for you. And people need to understand that not everybody is going to be for you. And that is okay. So I feel like the other person, whoever you're talking to, they need to understand that as well. Like, you cool, but no, this ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying?
Like for me, I need this for me.
Yes.
You just don't have that for me.
Correct.
But you have all these great things.
Right.
And that's going to fit somebody else. It
ain't going to be me.
Not me.
Right. Not this person.
And in terms of relationships, when you're like dating, so dating in this world is completely new too. I hate the idea of like, don't talk about your past, or don't say this or don't say that. And people will hide their past. And then I always feel like those that hide their past comes back and like haunts them. Well, not haunts them, but makes an appearance. And now you have to have this awkward like, oh, now there's this elephant in this room, and this elephant is your past.
Right.
And this elephant came with luggage and shit. Like,
and it's here to stay, apparently. Right.
Where was my warning sign? We're also afraid to be honest with people that we're starting out with. And I think, and I'm curious your thoughts, does it come to the point of one either being vulnerable or admitting either faults that that person may have had in that relationship?
Yeah.
For an example, I thought of someone who had said like their partner asked them if they had ever cheated in their past, and they like try to quickly get past that conversation, and their partner had it buzzing in their head like, why didn't they tell me?
Why can't you be honest with me?
Yeah. Right. So that's what I'm curious if like in dating as well, are we able to be open about our past? Is it even welcoming? Should we do it?
I think it's fine. If the person asks, just answer the question. Like, it's not a big deal. If they really want to judge you based on your past and they don't want, then that's not the person for you. And that is okay. There is nothing wrong with that. I was fine without you. I mean, it is what it is. But I think it's okay to be open. Like, I'm so open. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll tell anybody, like, oh, yeah, I was with somebody for 12 years or whatever. I was married. You know, I don't care. That part of my life doesn't define me. But, you know, have you cheated? Yes, I have. Like, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to cheat in the future. Don't mean I'm going to cheat on you.
The once a cheater, always a cheater.
That's not always the case. I mean, you know, if you count the past, then yeah, I'm always going to be a cheater. But going in the future, you know, I'm not, I just, no. Be open. And like, it's annoying that people don't want to be open because people are scared to like be vulnerable. And child, I'd be so vulnerable now only because of therapy. If I did not go to therapy, I'd be like, I would be as much as I'm an open book with my life, when it comes to the, back then, to be emotional or to be vulnerable, it was very difficult. So I can be vulnerable and be very open now because of therapy. Y'all gonna hear that word. What about, I talk about it all the time.
What about therapy lets you be open and vulnerable?
I think it puts me in tune with my feelings and things that I always thought I should be running away from. And always thinking, no, I shouldn't feel this way because that's wrong. When in reality, it's like you have to accept these things about you because it's who you are, and there's nothing wrong with who you are. And I think a lot of the times that's what makes me feel that I can be open and I can be vulnerable and I can share my feelings with whoever, I
like how you said running away from, because in a sense, I think of it as those that don't want to admit their negative traits or their faults or their flaws or what rattled their emotions or what threw them off. And I know I used to do that as well. Like, no, I'm going to be unbothered. Like, no, I'm still a bad bitch and he got me fucked up and this, that, and a third. And then I turned to a point where I was like, no, he really did get me fucked up and fucked me up off of that. Like, I am fucked up off of this shit right here.
Bothered.
Right.
And I'm bothered.
I'm bothered.
Right.
And then there's on the flip side, it also makes me face me. And I do feel like people are afraid to face themselves.
Yes.
And curious of what made you, one, comfortable to face yourself, as well as what's making our generation uncomfortable to face ourselves.
Yeah. Whew.
He said,
I think for me, like being, like you said, we don't want to focus on our negative traits, especially with this generation. Like, oh, be positive, be positive, be positive. Listen.
The world is freaking negative. How are you supposed to be positive?
Right. Yin and yang. If there's positivity, there's negativity. And there is nothing wrong with negativity at times, as long as you don't wallow in it.
Thank you.
You don't, if you're in a bad headspace, deal with it, accept it. Because a lot of people don't like to accept it because they just try to put a mask over it with positivity. If you in a negative mood, okay, accept it, but also know what you need to do to get out of it. And but yes, like people don't like to be uncomfortable. And that's just really like one of the biggest things is like I'm learning how to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
And say my favorite line ever. I be preaching it.
I'm really learning it. And I feel like, again, since November, I've really opened up more. I'm breaking out of my shell. I realized I held myself back a lot by, I don't want to do that because I know I'm not going to like it, or I feel uncomfortable. So I really held myself back from doing a lot of things. And now I'm not going to say yes to everything.
Like, because
boundaries, right? Because boundaries, but I will say yes to certain things. Like, typically, I would probably not go out on a Monday or a Tuesday. Now, I might, but that's a step forward for me. Another person might listen to me and be like, "You not gonna go out on Monday or Tuesday?" Well, that's you, but you would, and that's perfectly fine. But me, I want to be at home watching some TV, eating my Chinese food, unbothered, but that's getting out of your comfort zone is difficult, but it's worth it.
Do you feel like it sort of also comes into like your intuition, like learning how to trust it as well as recognize it? Like you can trust your intuition, make a decision and be like, this was the wrong decision.
Yes.
Should have stayed home
all the time.
Should have had the Chinese. I don't know why I said yes to coming out tonight. I knew not to do it.
Right.
And then you come back home and you be like, that was my intuition. Like, let me lean into it more. Do you feel like therapy helped that a little bit?
Definitely. It definitely did. I mean, my intuition is spot on. I will say that. Like, there are moments where I'm like, are you Sidekick Chris? Because, and like some of my friends, and like, they would be like, yo, how did you know? I'm like, I just be knowing. But yeah, like I lean into my intuition a lot now. And before, like when people would like ask me, let's do this, let's do that, I'd be like, no, and then I'd feel bad about it. And now I'm like, no, I don't want to. I'm good. And stand in that, because at the end of the day, if that's not what I want to do, that's not what I want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you ain't finna guilt trip me into it either.
But do you also believe that the guilt trip is a sense of, another key buzzword, manipulation?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And what do you think allows us to be manipulated by others? And manipulation comes in, manipulation and narcissism is a spectrum. And I want people to start recognizing and embracing the spectrum. But yeah, sorry. I had to throw that out there. That was my own little tidbit.
What was the question? Because she made points.
Why do you think you allow people to manipulate you, and how can you sort of, because you had mentioned earlier you were allowing people to gaslight you.
Yes.
So how do you allow people to sort of manipulate your decision? Like, if you know in your intuition, I don't want to go out, like, no, like, you're not going to guilt me. But then there's some times where you're like, fine, I'll bend, and then instantly regret it.
I mean, listen, I think it really depends on the person. Like somebody off the street ain't gonna be able to manipulate me, but somebody I love or friends probably will. But at the end of the day, I don't bend as quite often as like before. And now it's just that growth that I had where I'm like, I'm an adult. Like, I'm in my 30s. Like, I'm not a child. You can't do this to me. Right. You can't do this to me now. So now it's just me standing in my truth and being like, I'm good. Manipulation don't live here no more. Okay.
And in standing in your truth, are you able to comfortably stand and share your faults in a sense to like help others? Because there's people who can stand in their truth and be like, yeah, I went through that shit, it didn't look good. And then there's others who be like, yeah, and this is the part I played. How do you find the strength to be like, this is my truth and this is my fault? Yeah,
I know I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect at all. And I feel like me sharing my faults, actually, I feel like it gives me and my character, me a little bit more character. And people really realize like, okay, he's honest. He's open. He's honest. He's open. And, and I feel like just being like that honestly is a blessing. It's a blessing. It can come back to bite you but it is somewhat of a blessing, honestly.
It's almost like the relatability.
Yeah.
Because it allows people to be human first. Yes. Where I feel like we step outside and we're like, and action.
Exactly.
And it's like, and no.
Right. I mean, and as human beings, we wear many hats. Brother, sister, parent, co-worker, and it's just like when you finally get to go home, you get to take all that off. But then when you step outside that door, you got to put all them hats back on, and it can be frustrating at times. But being open with people and letting them know, like, hey, this is who I am. Yes, I'm amazing. That's not even the question. But I'm not perfect, and here are some of my faults. And I'm capable now. I am capable of admitting my faults. So if you tell me I was wrong, and I think about it, and I know I was wrong, I'll apologize. But if I was gaslit into thinking I was wrong, baby, you ain't getting this apology.
But what if you aren't gaslighting into thinking you were wrong, and someone is trying to like tell you that you were wrong? How do you stay firm and like, we're gonna have to agree to disagree?
That's it. There's no more discussion to be had.
I love it.
Like, that's it.
Sometimes do you ever look back to like where you were then and where you are now and sort of wish like, damn, I wish this came sooner? Or do you ever feel like this came right on time for me?
It came right on time. I am where I'm supposed to be. And I couldn't be happier, honestly. I probably the happiest I've been in a long, long time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what exactly?
You can see it.
You can.
Look at the material.
You can. You definitely can. But what I'm curious about is because people can see it too, right?
Yeah.
How do you internally be like, no, this is happiness? Because back then, who's to say we didn't think we were happy?
Right. And
we were telling ourselves we were happy.
Right. And there were moments when I was. Right. You know what I'm saying? And now it's...
Is it redefined or
yes,
is it...
redefined. It definitely is. It's because at different stages in your life, your happiness is going to be different. It's not always going to be the same. So I feel like for me at this stage in my life, this is what happiness looks like.
So happiness looks like Chris.
Yes.
So Chris, what would you tell a young person of color? Any words of advice that you wish that someone gave you back then?
It gets better. It always does. Like as you get older, yes, like there's gonna be a lot of things that you're gonna have to deal with. But go to therapy.
First thing you should do.
Right.
Find your therapist.
Find a therapist
now.
And a good one. But yeah, definitely. And I tell that to everyone, and no matter your age, I'm like, just go to therapy. So to any young person of color, I just be like, go to therapy. It's okay to be open. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be in tune with that part of you, because a lot of the times it's viewed as a feminine trait. And I feel like, and especially as a gay man, I have masculine traits and feminine traits. And I feel like all of us do, regardless of, what men be saying, they have, but it's about balance. It's definitely about balance and knowing to be in tune with those emotions. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's totally okay. But go to therapy so you can keep those emotions in check.
I was going to make like a really weird analogy. Just follow me here. It's almost like, to me, the men that are very hesitant to being vulnerable, like they're constipated. Because you're constipated with all of these emotions and feelings. And I think of it that way when they actually take the time to unload on those that they feel safe with. You literally feel like, yo, did I just get shit on? Like, this nigga just took a shit in my house. Like, damn.
And when you're holding all that in, it manifests in different ways, and it can manifest in anger. And however you let your anger out is, whether it's physical, mental, it's not cute. It's not cute. So, like I said, I thought I was going to therapy for anger issues. I do not have anger issues. Thank you very much.
I have people issues.
I have people issues.
Triggering me
right.
issues.
Exactly. Gaslighting me, manipulating me. And we are here today, full of happiness.
And then my favorite question, hardest question ever.
Yes.
3 songs that you listen to in or out of a mood.
In whatever mood?
Whatever mood you want. So you can be like, this song brings me into when I need to get a good cry going. This song is like, I don't want to go to the gym, but this will make me move my ass.
Yeah. Okay, so the first song is Honey by Mariah Carey.
Okay.
It's actually the first song I've ever heard by her.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was a little gay boy, just moved to Virginia, and I turned on MTV, and it was the first music video I had actually ever seen.
Wow.
Yes. And I was like, yes, who is this woman?
What that video was, but okay.
Right. So yeah, Honey always, no matter what mood, well, I mean, anything Mariah Carey, just put it on, I will rock to it. I love.
You must love Christmas time.
I am not a huge fan of Christmas, but I love the song.
Okay. That's the only song I will let rock, but as soon as I hear it, I'm like, and we're here.
Right. Why is it playing in July? Like you're like, what? But that's when she starts getting ready for Christmas. She starts up in July.
So we have like
right, yeah. And then there was a song that came out not too long ago by Janet Jackson called Made for Now. And it's such a fun-loving song that I'm just like, Janet, you better, girl. And basically the third song is Anything Beyonce. Love her. And you just put her on and I get going.
So I like how you pick like 3 powerful Black women.
Oh, yeah. I keep saying this, but yes, as a young gay boy, I looked up to, for me, divas are powerful Black women singers. Like, that's who they are for me. Aretha, Gladys Knight, Patti LaBelle, Whitney Houston. These are my Mary J. Blige. Yes, I love, but loving them makes it difficult for me to get into today's music. Because I'm like, you got all these singers who are just amazing.
Singing from the depths.
Right. And now these singers nowadays are like, nah, and you're like,
he ain't come home last night. Like,
and I'm like, why y'all so angry? Y'all love them toxic relationships, baby. Go to therapy.
We gonna start a campaign that just says, "Baby, go to therapy."
Right,
Like as soon as you come over here with your shit,
Right.
like so, if you make a left at the end of the hall, there's therapy. You can go right there. Well, Chris, thank you so much for sitting down with us,
having me,
and BSing with us.
Yes,
today.
of course.
As always, you can follow us and tune into the conversation at BlackMenCryToo, and that's TOO. And tune in next time. Thank you.